Hursley Park, our established mix of product news, site report and community activities. From information systems to Jack Hockley to hear of a new accolade for Hursley. All managers meet in Southampton. And in Winchester we visit John Fairclough. While there we step back into history. And finally, we score another first by having BBC Two contribute to the Hursley Park video. To open number 5, we go to Basingstoke to visit one of Hursley's off-site departments, Workstation Development. In Mountbatten House, we spoke to WSD Director Peter McManus about the dramatic growth of the PC business.
There are a lot of business opportunities. Our job is to pick out those that offer short-term returns with long-term growth. But there's a growing trend to use the PC as a window on the world. If you have a PC with the Presto feature, which is one of the features Workstation Development has come up with, you can pay your bills at home without going anywhere near the bank. In fact, one of my people even orders the groceries this way. But it's no good having your PC collecting information from sources such as electronic mail if you can't get at it when you're away on business. There was a recent announcement of a PC feature in the US which allows you to phone your PC from wherever you are and to have it read out messages over the phone.
Okay, pick up the phone.
Welcome to the East Mall Theatre.
Yes.
Our current program is Wild West.
Well, we're looking at the European opportunities for this kind of feature. 1986 and 1987 are going to be growth years, with about 60 to 80 people joining us each year. As you can see, buildings have been fitted out to a very high standard. And property management, with the help of lab admin, have done a super job for us. The Hursley IS people have worked very hard too. We're being very well served from Hursley with all the systems we need, particularly profs, and that's been the case from day one.
Praise indeed for Hursley's information systems. Here in user services, a wide range of workstations and systems is available for demonstration and education, all of them bookable in advance. Inquiries by telephone, through VM, or indeed by a visit will find information centre staff on hand to help. Here an application is demonstrated on the PCAT. Nearby in D1481, Jackie Wilson is taking inquiries on the Prof's helpline, where 95% of inquiries are answered first time. Further away in Y Block, Prof's education continues. Other services include application development and a software consultancy. Roger Pink specialises in PC applications. The range of facilities offered by user services will come as a surprise to many. Another surprise was the appointment by Tony Cleaver of 4 Hursley employees as UK technical staff members. Jack Hockley explains.
The idea is to recognise IBM UK's most outstanding technical employees who have contributed to the business in a variety of areas over the last few years. Each of you has been chosen because you're an expert in a particular field.
David Teal is an automation engineering consultant in UK DMPC, and he advises on the practical application of robotics in IBM's plants. Ken Davis is the senior designer in KICS, with 10 years' experience on this product alone. Frank Ainscoe from ISP is a development engineer working on the next generation of colour monitor products. John Heath, who's been in storage products since 1967, has worked on a number of disk file products. Today he's manager of advanced file development. IBM UK will surely benefit from this newly identified pool of technical expertise. In April, Hursley's managers benefited from a pooling of business expertise at the All Managers meeting. Over 300 delegates were welcomed by Jack Hockley, who introduced SPD President Steve Schwartz and ESD President Bill Lowe as guest speakers. But first, executive managers presented an update for each of their areas and an outlook for the year ahead. Later, the divisional results presented by our American speakers introduced an overseas flavour to the meeting. The day's other guest speaker came from nearer home.
I talked to the managers at Boulderwood last week, and I told them that we live in a world that is becoming increasingly competitive, and that is going to set us some new challenges at Hursley. And I outlined those challenges for them, and I expect Hursley will respond in its usual way with great style and with great success, and I'm relying on you to do that.
So what did John think about his new job?
Well, I was enormously flattered to be invited to become Chief Scientific Advisor to the Cabinet Office. It really is an opportunity to do something more directly for the UK. At the same time, I have great trepidation. I'm not a scientist, I'm an engineer, but I think that the skills and knowledge that I have will be of value to the country, and I'm looking forward to it enormously. My predecessor was a metallurgist, and he tells me that he never failed to get the help that when he asked for it from whoever he asked. And I may come to you for help, who knows.
We asked John where he would live.
Oh, we'll live in Winchester. My wife and I love it here. We'll probably have a little flat in London, but have absolutely no intention of moving. After all, even Margaret Thatcher doesn't have that.
A visitor to Winchester in the year 1000 would have seen not this Norman cathedral, but its Anglo-Saxon predecessor, Old Minster. Let's learn more about Old Minster, and also how IBM helped in a most unusual way to recreate it. Under the cathedral's towering walls on the site of Old Minster, we meet Mrs. Bertha Kilby-Biddle of the Winchester Research Unit.
Before the excavations, directed by Martin Biddle, started in 1962, we didn't even know where Old Minster lay. We only knew that it had been constructed in the middle of the 7th century by King Kenwell, and that it was considered very beautiful. Immediately to the north of Old Minster, another church called New Minster was built in 903. The two churches were so close together that a horse couldn't walk between them, but a man could. So close indeed that the singing of the monks in one church confounded the singing of the monks in another. The excavations here have revealed the ground plan of Old Minster, and also the spot which has been venerated since the 10th century as a burial place of St. Swithin, who was the Bishop of Winchester from 852 to 862. On that spot is now placed a granite slab given by Stavanger in Norway. The ground plan of Old Minster is laid out in bricks on the ground. Normally, this laying out on the ground of the plan, combined with publications in words and drawings, and perhaps the creation of a model, would normally have been as much as one could hope to do to recreate the vanished church. However, now, because of the interest, indeed enthusiasm, of Dr. Tom Haywood and his IBM team at the Scientific Centre in Winchester, it has been possible to recreate in picture this vanished church. The film has created Old Minster as it may have looked after the great building works by St. Ethelwald, who was Bishop of Winchester from 963 to 984. It is possible for a modern pilgrim to follow in the footsteps of, for instance, the young cantor Wulfstan, who as a young man sang in the procession for the translation of Swithin from his tomb into the church in 971 on the 15th of July. Immediately north of Old Minster lay New Minster, not shown on the film. We are walking between the two churches. Looking from the east, the apse and the stage tower over the high altar stand out. Walking around the south side of Old Minster, through the cemetery, many chapels can be seen, the whole culminating in the massive multi-towered western structure. We go into Old Minster through the westwork. The westwork had several purposes, the most important perhaps to provide a seat for the king on the upper floor, from which he could look right down the nave to the high altar. Here at the ground floor, almost in a western crypt, stood the shrine built around Swithin's tomb. The shrine was open to the east, but the relics were protected by this grille perhaps. Pilgrims could look in and pray. The high altar was placed below the stage tower, above a central crypt. In front of the high altar stood a stone coffin, in which perhaps once Ethelwald lay. in the crypt below the high altar, some of the bishops of Winchester and several of the kings and queens of England were buried. Around the altar itself stood a baldacchino, this in the 10th century, as it was already the case in the 7th. The king from his seat in the vestwork would be able to see the celebration of the Mass at the high altar. The bishop in turn could see the king. Thus, the most celebrated Anglo-Saxon church, lost since 1093, has been recreated.
Back from the past to the present. Recently, in the BBC Two programme Nature, David Biddlecombe explained the planting of screen belts at Hursley.
And that's when we took the decision that the right thing to do was to interplant some of the evergreen trees.
Behind the evergreen screen, the charms of Hursley Park. And we close our programme with a look at some of the spring flowers, now at their best.